The global economy is at an important point in its time. It's been about 5 years that the current crisis has been in play, and Canada's role both before and after the crisis is an important one. Canada avoided the bulk of the crisis, but not all of it, so there's clearly some things that Canada was doing right. On the other hand, there's no room for complacency, and more importantly, as the new rules of the game are being written and being implemented, it's important for Canada to be a complete part of that picture, just as it has been historically. In fact, one of the things we've learned is that Canada was an important player at the Bretton Woods Conference and has been an important player in every meeting and every process since then connected to global finance and trade. And so what this book does is chronicle that role and analyze it.
I don't think we want to get too much further away from the actual epicenter of the crisis back in 2007, 8, 9, that kind of period where you see the build-up and the actual crisis unfold, because it is still in people's minds. We're still seeing the effects. We're seeing some of the second-round repercussions of the crisis. So this is a good time in terms of not being too far away, and yet we're not too close in the sense that we've got that perspective. We've seen a lot of the first-round effects within Canada, so this is a good time to just step back and take a look at the lessons. I think the second reason is to have the lessons now. We're still in reaction mode, I think. How are we going to move into the future to either overcome the repercussions of the crisis, the ripples that are coming through off the crisis, but also into the future, how do we avoid these? And so now is, I think, a very good time to have that perspective, have that immediacy, and yet be able to address these policy concerns.
The focus of this volume is on finance, and this being very much motivated by the fact that we're 5 years out from the peak of the global financial crisis in 2008, 2009. And it's obviously a period in our history that we're continuing to learn and understand. And the Canadian perspective, I think, is a very interesting one. So the volume is designed in part to draw out, from a Canadian point of view, some of the key issues that are being looked at that we think need to continue to be looked at from a Canadian as well as an international perspective, but to also reflect a little bit on Canada's experience, aspects of that experience that might be of interest to scholars and policymakers, not just in Canada but elsewhere, but at the same time to be self-critical, if you like, to look at what Canada might have been able to do differently or better.
I suppose there have been so many changes in the world economy, and we've sort of been on the side. We haven't suffered as much from at least the direct effects of the financial crisis as have the US, the UK, the Eurozone. And we haven't had to implement some of the policies that they've had to implement. We've had to prepare for such a thing. So it's a good time to reflect on what we can learn from others and what others can learn from us, because the fact we didn't suffer as much financially suggests that we did some things right, and so it's worth thinking about what those things were.